Hey there, and welcome back to Real Estate Renovators, the show designed to help real estate agents navigate through the proverbial shitstorm and come out the other side. My name's Jason Cunningham, and let me tell you, I'm pretty pumped about today's episode. But before I introduce our guests, let me introduce our fellow rockstar co-hosts. To my right, you know him as the Persian Princess. We know him as Rex Afrasiabi, the Legal Eagle. Big Rex, how are you, pal?
I'm very well, mate. Yourself?
Good to see you, Rex.
Always a pleasure.
I need to shake the hand that hard. To my left, those of us that know her, we know her as Kmart. No, we don't. Mum didn't call me Kmart for a reason, Jason. Chanel Mackesy, the greatest recruiter this country's ever seen. Hey, Chanel.
What an intro. Hey, Jace, how are you?
Very good, Chanel. How are you?
Good, very good as well.
We're excited. Your birthday's coming up soon.
I know. It's
Hey.
all we're talking about on set.
Now, talking about birthdays, how could we forget our man in the sky? We thought the COVID laws had allowed him to come back down and see us, but they haven't. He's been locked back in Vegas. Pete Aquila, how are you, Pete?
I'm really good. Thanks, Jace, for the intro.
Mate, happy birthday to you. Can I share with our listeners? I know you don't want me to tell them that you're 50, but yeah, big.
50. Can't believe it. Don't feel 50.
Don't
want to be 50.
Don't look 50 either.
Oh.
Don't look 50. Seriously, the bloke's 3 years older than me and looks 13 years younger. Anyway, Pete, you're looking good, and we'll have that chat a little bit later on. Now, let me introduce our guest for today. This woman, when I talk about rock stars, and in property management in particular, Rex, and you know this is better than most, this woman is a guru. I've been following her career for the best part of 20 years, and her name...
26 years.
Well, how long do you know how long I've been following her career for? Well, she might have been in business 26 years. I didn't care about the first 6 years, did I? I just got interested in year 6.
Okay.
And her name, and thanks for interrupting me, Rex, that's one of your gifts, is Melanie Dennis. Hey, Mel.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to be here and really excited for the show.
Well, thank you. Now, Rex, you know a bit more about Melanie than I do. I know she's a rock star PM guru, but there's a few awards in the cabinet.
She's won every award you could think of under the property management sphere. She's won Real Estate Property Management of the Year for REIV, the Real Estate Institute of Victoria, Property Management of the Year for Victoria. She's also been part of the chapter for property management in REIV as well, the Real Estate Institute of Victoria. So you've done everything you could think of in property management and won all the awards.
Yeah, look, it's been a pretty exciting year, 26 plus years, I think, if I am going to show my age.
Yeah.
And property management.
You started at 1, didn't you?
I was pretty close. I was pretty close. My kids certainly did, with the business starting with my 5-month-old. But if he ever gets into real estate, he can certainly say he's been doing it his whole life. That's for sure. But it has been an amazing career, and it's certainly got many years to go. So a career that never stops and is forever changing, particularly with all the COVID stuff that we've been through last year. That has been, an absolute whirlwind. So it's been good.
So, Melanie, before we talk about all your accolades and the rock star that you are, one of the things that really intrigues me is how you started your business. Now, according to Chanel, you started the business on your lounge room floor, is that right?
Yeah, well, I had a desk. I did have a desk, but I had 4 properties, and 2 of them were my own, and 2 of them were a client's.
Oh, that's outstanding.
And Steve's still my client today, looking after his properties, which is pretty special. Every time I get an email or a call, he calls himself number 1. So it's pretty special to be still looking after a client from that we've been through so much together for 21 years.
Yeah.
He essentially kick-started the business, rang me and said, he just wants me to look after his property, and Jackson was 5 months old at the time, and I was on maternity leave, and it was, well, let's give it a go.
Can I ask, Mel, so you obviously started this business on your lounge room floor. How did it all start? What made you decide, I'm going to open up a property management business? Where did the idea come from, and what sort of brought it to life?
Yeah, well, look, I have never really run by a set of goals or plans, or, no matter what people say, you fail to plan and, you fail to move forward.
That's what our whole show's been about.
Yeah, right. I didn't plan it. It wasn't something that I had thought about when I first got into real estate. I just loved it. And I just needed to learn as much as I possibly could. I started obviously doing the agents rep. Thought that was fantastic. Got put on a traineeship with the Real Estate Institute and was one of the first intakes of their traineeship program back then. And then after that, thought I need to learn more. So I studied my full license. And so I just had my full license from very early on. Yeah. So when I was approached to look after somebody's properties, I wasn't ready to go back into the workplace. Jackson's now was turning 21 this year. Back then it wasn't a thing where you could work from home and have children and do those sort of things, and particularly property management. So it was just then oh well, I can give this a go. So I jumped on the internet back then with my dial-up. If everyone remembers that sound.
And you couldn't pick up the phone either, because if you picked up the phone, the internet cut out.
I managed to be able to, you know, design my own logo and business cards and did all of that myself. And, you know, we were producing statements on Excel spreadsheets and running the whole business through that, not through any sort of software programs back then. I think I started with a software program when I got my 12th property. So it just kind of went from that.
Bit by bit.
Yeah, and I think, you know, just having being a mum and having my baby with me at open for inspections, and, you know, he just kind of went everywhere that I did. People appreciated what I was trying to do and a little bit more personalised service, and so it just grew from referral really quickly from that.
Wow.
I'm just still caught up in the whole dial-up internet and Chanel on Instagram. That'd be just like a fucking nightmare.
I'm surprised Chanel knows what dial-up internet is, but
I remember I would have been like 12 or 13. I remember my sister would try to get on the phone. I'd be on MSN chat, and then it would cut out, and then we'd punch on, and Mum would be there. And Mum would have to split us up. I'd be great. I've got PTSD actually. It's just massive flashback now.
Melanie, you've gone from being at home, and how did that grow? Like, how is it having your first employee? How is it having an office? How was it, like, the journey? Can you talk us
well,
through
we
the
started in
journey?
my lounge room, and then we moved house, and I upgraded to my own bedroom.
Oh, wow. I'm moving office.
And then from there, I got kicked out, and we converted the garage. So, you know, these steps, and then from the garage, we went into an office, and from there, we've changed offices a few times. Now we're looking after around 700 properties and have a good sized team. So it's certainly grown from, you know, starting with your first employee being part-time and
How was your
assisting you.
first employee? How was it delegating to someone that, you know, it's, you know, you're very high performance, so to let go and have someone work for you, how was
it's difficult.
that?
And also just the whole relationship between employer and employee, because when there is only one or two, you're much more on a friend basis as well. So it's really important to, you know, I mean, all of your team that work with you, you want them to be friends. You want them to be everyone to like each other and get on well together. But there's also that line that's
It has to have a delineation.
exactly, where you are running a business and you do want everything to be done the way that essentially you want it to be done. And as a property manager, you know, we're control freaks. So I certainly never say that I'm not.
You know one thing I find really cool, Melanie, and this area of PM is an area that Pete's a real expert in, and I want to jump to Pete in a minute, because he and I were speaking off air before about it. But what I find really intriguing in life is that often when we're faced with adversity, and I'm not saying it's adversity, but you had a 5-month-old son, right? And you're going to opens, nursing your kid, breastfeeding in the front room, doing all that sort of stuff, and you're thinking, shit, how am I going to do this? But then all of a sudden, when you own that adversity and make it, for want of a better term, your point of difference, it's a pretty cool story, you know what I mean? And your clients potentially, you know, the landlords would potentially say, look what this woman is prepared to do, right? And I've often gone on record, I haven't given birth, I don't know if you can tell, but I've been party.
I thought you were in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But I've been party to 3 kids being born. And what I know is this, if you can raise a child, then you can pretty much do anything.
Yeah, well, look, I'm not sure I've done that particularly well. You'd have to ask my kids. They're still alive, so it's a bonus.
Are they living in a house? Or
They're under roofs, so it's all good.
Yeah, but I think it's amazing how you've taken that challenge of being a mum on mat leave, you know, with Jackson, to now where you are today with 700 properties. I think it's outstanding.
And a couple more kids in between. So, you know, we decided to have a second, and how hard could that be?
No. Done it once before.
Exactly.
Hey, well, you go.
And look, Ella's gorgeous, but for the first 6 months, she did not stop crying. So it didn't really make it that easy.
No.
Yeah, wow.
Ella,
you know,
Mummy's
you just-
trying to run a business, honey. Shut up.
You just do what you have to do,
Yeah.
essentially, to get the job done. There's no point going, oh, this is too hard, and giving up on something when it's your passion, when it drives you. You know, the business is another one of my children, essentially.
Yeah.
It is everything that happens in it whether it's good or bad, is personal to me.
Yeah.
You know, a landlord could decide to change managements. It's not personal, it's just business. To me, it is personal.
Yeah.
You've got to try and separate that out from a professional level, but anything that happens is very personal, because it is my business and my baby, and you know, everybody who's involved in it is extremely special to me, no matter what, you know, is happening.
I can really relate with that, because we built a business, my business partner and I, not my life partner, my business partner and I built a business based on passion and based on our personality and developing relationships. And so you can say, yeah, it's just business, but if your USP is based on that, it's pretty hard to have that difference, isn't it?
It is.
Pete, in your experience, I mean, I know you've worked with all sorts of property management businesses. In your experience, what are the key traits that make a PM business a strong, healthy, vibrant? You like that word, vibrant, Pete? It's just very much like your skin at the moment, Hanson. A vibrant type business.
I think if you're looking at Melanie's business from outside in, you know, I checked out Melanie's website before, you know, when we worked out we were going to interview Melanie. And it was really interesting to, you know, be a customer and in customers' eyes. And you talk about your nurturing sort of, you know, background. When I went to your website, you have a very different approach to the market, more like that you want to educate and give people knowledge. And that to me was just so refreshing, rather than just talking about yourself. How did you come up with that strategy to market, to actually be more about providing people with help and knowledge?
I think for me, if people are knowledgeable about what they're doing, if I can help them know what they're doing, then it's going to make our job so much more easier. So if a tenant says to us, I'm looking to break my lease, we don't have to go into the same spiel every time. And it might not be the same spiel if you've got team members saying one thing and then another team member saying another. So it's simple. I'll send you through the fact sheet and let you know what happens with that. Same with landlords, you know, they might not know what to do to get their property ready to rent when they move out. Here's a fact sheet to tell you exactly what to do, and check boxes. And as a property manager, we run so much by procedures and systems and checklists and these sorts of things. And if we can impart that onto the people we're working with, then that's just going to make our job so much easier at the end of the day.
Chanel, that's one of the things that you often talk about, is getting the team singing out of the same hymn book, or it's telling the same tune, and how important that is. In your experience, Chanel, you know, getting people on the same page or weeding out the bad eggs, so to speak, what are good strategies around that, do you think?
I mean, I think it's what we've sort of talked about the entire way through. When you're hiring a team, you want to hire a team based on culture. So you want them to work together in an environment that they feel like they can thrive in. And then having the right systems, procedures, policies in place, and they're trained from the beginning they step into the office, they know exactly what they need to do, and they're trained according to, you know, your guiding principles or your policies and procedures. That's really what creates a good team and keeps everyone quite harmonious.
Yeah.
How have you grown your team, Melanie? So, you know, from sort of draw it back, you've grown from 7 to 700. How did that growth happen, and how long did it sort of take to grow the business to that level? And how did you go about sort of employing people? Was it you advertised directly? You know, how did that all come about?
Look, it's been an interesting growth, and most of it's happened what I call accidentally. I've never had a BDM. I've never had
really
no. Like, I do the BDM work mostly. We do obviously have team members that do list properties as well, and get, you know, their referrals that come in.
Yeah.
But mostly it's just an accident how we've grown, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, it's a good accident because it's through mostly word of mouth, where everybody comes to us because they hear about our service or the extra care and attention to detail that we're giving.
Yep.
Finding team members is difficult for any company in property management, and there is a turnover. I feel like we've got a great team. We've got a lot of our team that have been there for 4+ years, which is terrific, and obviously some new people, as always happens too. We have a Bible that we run by, so we call it the Bible. So there's the procedure manual, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
But there's a property management one, there's a front of a house office one, and a leasing one, and they're all about this thick. So you know, there's everything that you could think of that you could do is in there. Every email that you could think you needed to write is in a template. So you don't have to recreate the wheel every time you've got to do the same task. And then we're all beaten by the same
Bible?
me. So if you don't
And how
do
do you
this from the
implement it
start,
amongst all just
well, you
new
just start
staff?
it from the start. Like,
Does it have the New
just on my
Testament and
own-
the Old Testament?
Oh
Good
yeah,
Catholic
I
boy.
do have a one that's like an old one, so I guess that would be the Old Testament. This is true. I hadn't thought of it that way,
you
but
go.
I like it. And that Bible I started from the start, so it was just me, and I knew the importance of this.
So were
because
you
I'm
writing
growing.
procedures for yourself? 'Cause you kept
Absolutely.
forgetting?
No, well-
Yeah, I need that.
You need a
So
Bible.
I'm writing procedures knowing that my business is going to grow.
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah,
you
awesome.
try and create that later, it's so much harder to do.
So can I ask,
Yeah.
Mel, you've got this Bible in place that tells a team member exactly what needs to be done and any issue that they can go to this Bible. So why do you think there's still, not particularly in your business, but I think a lot of businesses have these policies and procedures or Bibles, so to speak. Why do you think there's so much turnover in the property management industry?
I think that actually most companies don't have it. A lot of people that we interview say we don't have systems and procedures. Like COVID's a classic one.
Yeah.
Okay, so COVID hits and there's no systems and procedures to manage it, and there's no systems and procedures put in place to manage it. So for 6 months, property managers are running by the seat of their pants. You know, I'm trying to learn how to do this. I don't know how to negotiate these rents for hardship. I've got to do all this other stuff for property management, along with trying to deal with these people who are going through really hard times, and the stress levels up here because the property managers are going through it personally themselves, their partner or themselves. Like a lot of
Yeah.
property managers had their wages cut.
Yeah.
They're trying to work from home with all their kids at home as well, and it was a super stressful time. And to not have anything put in place to manage that, and lots of property managers I speak to didn't have anything put in place to manage it. So how do you
what
manage
did you
it?
do
Well,
through COVID?
straight away we took the negotiations for hardship off the property managers. So if anyone said I'm in hardship, they sent a template email out that said, sorry to hear that you're in hardship, here's a link to our hardship form, and then one of our other directors took over. So Warwick handles all the finance part of our business, and he took over all of the negotiations for, for
Yeah,
COVID
that's-
That's a lot
hardship.
of pressure, particularly, I mean, sorry
So
to cut
much
you off,
pressure.
Jace.
No,
A lot of
used to
property
it.
managers are young. Neil,
Yeah, exactly, and not used to managing potentially their own finances, let alone somebody else's finances.
Property managers, you know, it's usually sort of 22 to 28 is a lot of people want to enter the industry, and they're managing people's biggest assets. And then you get something like COVID, and then a lot of directors were expecting these 22-year-olds to sort of handle these COVID or hardship matters. People that were losing their jobs, losing their income.
But they're also managing this with really high-end business people as well. That, you know, they're
The
trying to
landlords you're
then
talking about?
no, the tenants.
Oh, the tenants,
you know,
yeah,
say you're looking after a tenant in a $3,000 a week property who's just lost their job. You know, this is a high net worth individual that runs companies, sorting it out with potentially a brand new 22-year-old property manager in the industry.
Never thought
You
of
know,
that way.
Isn't it?
And if they're talking to somebody like that, the negotiation is going to be totally different if they're talking to someone who knows what they're doing.
So what you and Warwick did is take that off the table from your team
Absolutely.
and say, look,
That's
we'll do the
smart.
hard stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No wonder Warwick, I saw him when I walked in, he was sort of crouched in the corner.
Rocking himself, yeah. No, there's
Normally it's Chanel on the sauce a bit early, but then Warwick's just taken over because she couldn't get a drink in the poor thing.
Yeah.
Hey, Pete, one of the things that you keep banging on about, and I know in the conversations that you and I have, you're big on matching the culture. There's one thing to have the systems and processes, or Old and New Testament, but also with the behaviours of the team members. How do you think that correlation works effectively in a PM business, notwithstanding that we've just gone through this challenge of COVID, which, let's be honest, every business has in some shape, form or another?
Oh, look, culture is something that, you know, starts at the top and ends up at the front line. So I think we all have experienced businesses that, you know, lack culture when you're actually dealing with the front line. So, you know, I think if you're experiencing client loss or the satisfaction of your customers is sort of diminishing, it all starts from, you know, Melanie, really. Melanie, you know, how do you keep your culture alive and, you know, make sure that your frontline people are sort of doing what you would want to do if you had the opportunity to be with that customer?
Before you answer that question, I just wanted to, a really important point that Pete just said there, and Pete bangs on about it all the time, is his culture starts at the top. And you just told us how you took the hard stuff off the team and you gave it to your husband, fellow director of the business. You go, what? No, but this is the important point, because often businesses go, you do the hard shit, I'll do the glory stuff, right? And you go, no, I'll shoulder a load for the team member. And I think that's an important trait that I've just picked up, and I know it's your question, and let's be honest, I sometimes just try and shoot shit out of my mouth because there's a void. But is that evidence of the culture that you're trying to run?
Yeah, look, I certainly am very hands-on in the property management team. That can backfire with property managers thinking that you're sometimes micromanaging, I suppose. But for team members who need the help, who do need, that are falling behind because the workload just all of a sudden they've got, 5 properties vacant. Like that's a hard thing to manage in a week on top of everything else. If we can't jump in and help them as directors, and that's what we've chosen to do. That's certainly not what works for every director in every property management company, but as a property manager, that's what I've chosen to do is be able to get in and pull my sleeves up and get my hands dirty. And I love actually getting back into that because I get to speak to the clients again.
Mel, just on this topic, with the frontline people, I want to know, reversing back to when you started, if you were to be able to talk to Melanie 26 years ago, would you have told Melanie to name her business her name? Because what comes to mind for me is that, does everyone want to speak to you? We're talking about, culture and communication and your frontline people. When your business is called you, has that been challenging? And would you have actually told Melanie 26 years ago not to call it Melanie?
Well, it was called that to start with, but we have had some name changes along the way. So it did become a bit too much about me. So if you do name it a little bit more, I guess, not about you, then it is more about the team. But essentially, property management and getting clients into real estate in a whole is based upon the individual. It's not really based upon the business.
Rex, you do this really well. So Rex is our lawyer at our firm, MA Legal. Rex is, there's 2 principals, and Rex is one of the principals. And you do this really well because the inherent danger, particularly with those clients, the landlords, the tenants that you were talking about, the people that they want the butcher, not the block. And I know that you do this really well in your business, is that, you sort of first engage with the customer, and I always think that you're doing my shit, looking after all my legal stuff, but since I've got to know you, big boy, it's just a little signature at the end, sort of moving paper around from side to side. How have you done that in your organisation?
I call myself a cleaner in my business, so I clean any mess that comes up, and it's very open communication to all my team members. They know if something goes wrong, they come to me, I will fix it no matter what, and I'll always have their back no matter what. Even if they've stuffed up, I will make sure I never throw anyone under the bus. It's a team effort in the end of the day. With new clients and new matters and your stuff in particular.
It's all just your stuff.
And my stuff too, I'm sure.
Your stuff is better than his stuff.
Hang on a minute.
Some stressful clients or prima donnas. That was like you need to massage that a little bit better. So you need to be the point of contact to make sure the relationship flows better and they feel like you're involved in it. It doesn't mean you necessarily need to do the work itself. You need to make sure I oversee everything anyway.
And make sure it's happening right.
Make sure it's happening right. And with certain clients, I'll make sure even my team will prepare the email, I will send it. Just to keep that relationship.
Well, you need to keep that touch point. And it's the same. Like the people are coming to me, to our business, and I meet them first. And then they will be introduced to the team members that are looking after them, but I will talk to them and email them from, the team preparing it for me as required, as per procedure. And so you still got an involvement with them.
Yeah, and I think it's also important when you first engage the customer or the client or the landlord, when you first engage and you tell them, hey, this is how the process works here. At our firm, at the practice, this is what I do, this is the associate director, this is the role of the senior manager, these are our financial planning team, these are our lending guys. And make sure that you, right from the start, set the boundary. And then they're used to it.
That's right. But I always do tell them, I am here for you whenever you need. Not everybody always gets it right. Yeah. So if I make myself available to them, I email them, definitely through COVID, we did a lot of videos and communication out to the clients to keep them up to date with where everything was at. And if they can hear from me and they know that they still have an open line to me, they can call me when something does go wrong or when something's not quite going how they think it should be going. Yeah. And it might just be hearing from me to say,
the touch point.
The same thing that my team's saying, but it just, hearing it a second time from a different voice can just help them, get through that
Can I
next
ask?
step.
Sorry, Rex. You can go.
My view, and I 100% agree with you, and I run my business exactly the same way. I also have the same thing internally. So my team members never fear coming to me, because I'll never tell anyone off. I'll never do anything to make them feel like they can't come to me to help them. Because if
you want to help them, right? You don't
want
want
to
them
help
to
them.
have this tiny problem turn into a big one.
Exactly.
Because they won't
and
come
I feel
to
like
you.
if they fear coming to you, they won't come to you.
And this is a really hard thing to get into new team members. Why didn't you tell me you weren't coping? Why didn't you tell me your task list had got out of control? Because I want to help you get through that. I don't want you to sit there at night time and stress over it. I want to help do some of that if we need to, and then analyse why that's happened. So it doesn't happen again.
At what point in your business, Mel, and probably as well Rex and Jace, I get a lot of directors sort of that they want to get off the tools and oversee the business and the operations of the business. Just like you've said, you put in touch points or you arrange introductions with clients and then pass it across to team members. A lot of directors I know are ready to take that step, but they can't physically walk away or they don't have the trust in place. At what point in running your business or each of your businesses did you step away from the tools and actually start overseeing just the operations of the business?
Well, I think firstly it comes back to having that procedure manual. If you don't have a procedure manual, you can't expect someone to do the job you want them to do.
Yeah.
And
very
you
hard
certainly
to do
can't
the
pull them
same
up on
level
doing
you
the
want
wrong
them to do as
and you
well.
can't tell them for doing the wrong job because you haven't actually set out exactly how it's supposed to be. And then having the right people.
Right. So would you say it was 10 years in, 5 years in? How many years in did you step away and start?
I can't even
See,
remember.
I don't think it's a year thing. I think it's a people and procedure thing.
And it's an in and an out.
Yeah,
like
because it
you can be
changes
back
all the
in
time.
then you're back out again. Absolutely.
And I think every time, personally, when someone comes new, it's a whole, you got to start again. You got to train them again.
That's
You got to
right.
be hands-on again.
Yeah,
Every
watching
time
and
someone
training
new-
and-
and as you keep growing, you got to pull your sleeves up and do it.
Yeah,
I see it a lot.
How many you got in the team, Mel?
There might be about 8, I think.
Yeah.
So we've got people who are obviously working from home a lot more now than they ever did, and we've got some people in the Philippines.
And you
as
got your
well.
doggy on the website too.
Yes, that's team members actually. Yeah.
I liked that. It's just a little personalised touch.
Yeah.
I also liked on your website as well when you said, let me take you out for a coffee, and it's a photo of you with a coffee rather than contact now. It was just like those personal touches I really liked.
Yeah, great.
And the dog on the website, that's my favourite.
We actually get like when we're interviewing new people, and we're like, I just really like the dog on the website. So Hank's been fantastic.
You know, I don't know if you recall, I once actually had candidates, or I was recruiting for your company, and the advertisement said "must love dogs," and that's how we advertised.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then people were drawn to the. We had so many
everyone brings their
applications
dogs
for it.
in, and we
And that was a
go
selling
through way
point.
too much paper towel. I can tell you.
Yeah, it's a nice point of difference. It's that personalised feel. It's lovely.
Can I talk about something a little bit different? Acquiring a property management business, acquiring a rent roll. I know you've done it before, and I know you've acquired businesses before and sold parts of rent rolls before. Can you go through that process? Because it's so different to running a rent roll when you're preparing for a sale or preparing for an acquisition or buying a different rent roll. What's the procedure? How do you go about it hands-on?
And this is where your systems and procedures really help. So if you've got, like if you're looking to sell a rent roll, for example, you need to have all of your paperwork up to date. You need to have authorities for every property. And you're supposed to anyway, but there's a lot of companies out there that don't, or the authorities don't have an assignment clause in them where you can pass it on to another company. You need to have your owner's instructions. You need to have your condition reports and your leases and your keys and like everything in place.
So when you're looking to looking to sell a part of your rent roll, would you start looking to prepare that beforehand?
You would hope that that's already done, Rex, because really you
But a lot
need
of people
all of
don't
those.
have it
I know,
that
you
way.
need all of those
Well,
things.
you know what? In the defence of when we go into business, really most of us are going, "Where's the next client?
That's
Where's
right.
the next client?"
Yeah.
And so
Exactly.
it's that constant trade-off with some of the things.
Ticking
that Pete,
all the boxes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Pete and I talk about it all the time. Begin with the end in mind and work backwards. And it's my argument that every business owner should begin their business by thinking about how am I going to sell it and who am I going to sell it to. And I know with listening to what you're saying about selling rent rolls, and we've done transactions together for clients and with clients, is that the greater the systems and procedures are, the less reliant it is upon the director, then the higher the multiple it's going to be. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And also, the other benefit along the way is it's an easier freaking business to run if the systems and processes are all there.
That's right.
You know?
The reverse of that though, when you're buying a property management business, you haven't run it, so you don't know what it's like. So when you're doing your due diligence and when you're going
there's a little bit of a risk involved because of that, but you can see the property's values, you can see the fees that are being asked or that the clients are paying. So you already know what type of a business it is. So you can tell if it's a low base fee business, and that's what they're focused on, is low base fees. And so potentially the service hasn't been there, because if the fees are low, then you need to employ less people to run it. And so your service obviously suffers somewhat when there's less people there running it. You've got less income to be able to spend on, the right programs and those sorts of things. So the first thing we do is looking at the fees. If the fees look good, the next step is to obviously, sign your confidentialities and then go and do a due diligence in the business if you want to take that next step. And that due diligence is looking at the files. Have they got all the paperwork up to date?
Yeah. And when you're looking at paperwork, you look at the authorities, the condition reports. What are you looking for?
We're just looking for them being there to start with. That the fees match what they say that they are.
That's always a plus.
It's a good thing. The authority has the assignment clause in it. If they don't have a condition report on a property, why not? Like every property should have a condition report. And so if they've got those basic things not covered, what else could be wrong? But then you then can use that to negotiate. So if they don't have a condition report and a lease on every property, then you might say, well, I don't want to pay that much, I'm going to pay this much. And then you pay a little bit less, knowing that you can go in and impress those clients with your awesome service. And then you're instantly turning it into a good asset.
One of the things that I've seen popping up in your industry is having different fee rates that you charge landlords. Right? So some go in, the one business could have 3 different fee rates based on the level of service that they provide the customer. So this, we might charge, low entry 5.5%, 6.5%, and 9% or whatever. My question is twofold. A, do you do that? And B, if or you don't do it, whatever, what happens when you purchase a rent roll and that business was charging a lower fee than you currently charge to your landlords? Tell me how that works.
Well, I guess the first question on do we do that? No, we don't. We just want to offer the best service. And I couldn't go, Jason's calling me today and he pays a lot. So I've got to give him really good service. But Rex calls me the next day and he's not paying much.
Well, he's a lawyer.
We've negotiated.
So now I've got to...
We were happy. I'm still stuck on the cleaner. I think I'm in a fucking episode of Pulp Fiction. You know what I mean? They bring the cleaner in. It's Rex.
I wore black for a reason.
I might sit closer to Melanie.
So, now I've got to adjust my thinking and thinking, well, Jason's just had this really good service, but now I've got to pull it back down for Rex. And that's just too hard to manage. If you're thinking about charging one owner this and not another owner that.
No. And so let me clarify my question.
I've not heard of this model before.
Yeah, let me clarify my question. Some people just want the basic service. Collect the rent, advertise, get a tenant in, and that's it.
Same thing. Like, how do I adjust my thinking that I want to do everything for you? Because that's just my psyche. I want to take everything off your plate to make it as stress-free a property management experience as possible.
So you just offer full tote odds. You offer the great service. What I know, I've got clients that they just do the basic stuff, and then some people, will pay their bills and all that sort of stuff. And I know, Pete, you're onto this space, mate. You're waving at me. I don't know if that's a whole bedroom eyes thing or what it was.
Thanks, Dave. When I was checking your website, you also do an additional service. So this sort of ties into what we're talking about now. You actually offer a renovation sort of service, and for me, I was like, what was the benefit of that? And that's quite a unique service to offer, right? So what's your thinking behind that?
Oh, every time an owner renovates a property, oh my God. They come to me with what they think was a great renovation, have spent way too much money and taken way too long. And so the time frame even that an owner renovates a property in can take such a long time because they don't have the trades, they don't have the know-how, they don't know what should go first. And so that keeps that property off the market for 6 months, whereas I could have done it in 2 months. So that's 4 months of income we've lost as a company to start with. That's 4 months of income that the owner has lost, rental-wise. So if I can get in there, renovate a property, and we charge a project management fee for it, but if the owner does it and doesn't know what they're doing, those extra months cover my project management fee anyway. And they've got a renovation that is really good for tenants.
Do you manage this renovation, or do you have an employee?
No, I do it.
Oh, you're managing it?
Yes.
And she's got the contacts as well. So I work with you. She manages my properties as well.
And obviously you don't pay too much, we've just heard.
Negotiate at the time.
He's a good mate. You know.
Yeah, real good mate. 2% Sorry, Pete.
Mel, the other thing that I was thinking about, do you actually look at your current rent roll and where you could maybe renovate to actually increase rents if they were in a better condition, and almost, I suppose, grow your rent roll organically through having better properties within it?
Every time we do a routine inspection, if the kitchen's wooden, you know, the old 70s, 80s, sort of even longer ago wooden, then instantly a reminder will go in our system that that property needs renovating. So when the tenant gives notice to vacate, we've already spoken to the owner, hey, you should think about renovating. As soon as the tenant gives notice to vacate, I'll call the owner and say, what do you think? This is how much the spend's going to be. This is how much the return on that investment's going to be.
That is awesome! Sorry, it's the accountant in me, right? Because no one does that.
No,
right?
they don't.
Because when we look at when we take property as an investment, we get a bit caught up in the property itself. When in actual fact, whether it's an investment property or a share portfolio, really we're looking for growth and we're looking for yield, return on investment. We call it rent, and that's.
Well, if you look at like putting an air conditioner in, if you can get an extra $10 a week rent, then you've all of a sudden got 20% return on that $3,000. Maybe I'm not a mathematician. I can't work that off the top of my head.
Where did you get this idea from, Mel? How did this come about?
It's investing. It makes sense. It's investing. You don't go, I'm only going to get an extra $10 a week rent. That's going to take ages to take off my air conditioner, pay off my air conditioner. The air conditioner costs you $3,000. You've got $3,000 just sitting there, and you're going to invest it.
$10 a week's $500 a year. $500 on $3,000. That's a pretty decent number.
Where else can you invest that sort of money? Even for doing a full renovation, renovating a 2-bedroom villa or apartment, you're spending 60, 70,000, and some of the owners are getting upwards of a 15 to 20% return because it had got in such a state where the rent was so low. But it's not just about that return on investment. It's about getting a better quality tenant, having tenants stay longer. Like, tenants move because the properties aren't in good condition.
Why don't more real estate businesses offer this service?
Who will do it?
Yeah.
Like no one in a team can do it. A property manager can't do it.
Yeah.
They're too busy to do it. It does take a lot of hands-on work to make sure it's right.
It could be a new division though, like a renovated.
Well, it is out in ours.
Yeah, like there was a division within each property management business or real estate office that had a renovation. Division within it rather than property managers.
You've got to be mindful to have the right insurances in place and the right people to do it and the right skill set. You don't just want to jump into something like that.
You got to know what you're doing.
They've done it with years of experience. Like, you wouldn't want to advise a brand new property management.
But it's not a bad thing to think about the growth of your business, and we often talk about strategy and where we're taking our business. And there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, this model that Melanie's running here, this is actually not a bad model. And what it does do, I know Melanie spoke about the return to her business, but I can tell the type of person that she is. She's actually focused on the landlord and how do I help my customer. And we've always said, and Pete says this all the time, the more you focus outwards, the more comes inwards.
But it's just taking those pain points away. Like, who wants to renovate a property? No one wants to do that. It is so difficult to do if you don't have the right trades, if you don't know, that the floorboards need to be polished at the very end. Some people have gone in and polished floorboards first and then tried to do painting and everything around it and wondered why their floorboards have got damaged. And then they've got to get the floorboard guy back again,
But I know I've been to some parties with your trade, so you have such a close relationship with your trades that they're not going to let you down.
No, everything's about a relationship.
So that's so important. If I organise the same trades to clean my carpets, they're not going to give me the same service as...
Well, Rex, your carpets need a lot of cleaning, mate. Let's be honest, Chanel, we have to, well, let's be honest.
Well, we had a week out of Christmas and an owner decided that he wanted to paint his 3-bedroom house in Brunswick and he's like, get that done. And I did because my paint is awesome. Like, I've got a couple of trades, my painter and my carpenter being the two that have been with me for 26 plus years. They're just great at what they do.
City apartments?
Yeah, everything, anything.
Okay, that's good to know. Sorry, Pete, what were you about to say before Rex cut you off speaking about parties and Pulp Fiction and all sorts of shit?
Melanie, I really wanted to ask you, you've been in the industry for 26 years and specifically in property management.
It's so much on the 26.
Don't focus on the age, okay? So let's call it 12 years, or whatever.
She started very young.
I've got a good amount of experience, that'll do.
Over that period of time, and we're seeing this more and more, is that, a lot of what you did, manually is being consumed by technology, right? and I suppose how you bring value to your customers, like this Reno service. Is there any other sort of developments that you see in property management that will become more of what we do as a property management service rather than what is now being consumed by technology? What are those changes? And if you look, say, 2 years or 5 years in advance, where property management is becoming more about asset management and improving the asset, what do you think property management is going to look like in 5 years?
It's really hard to say. It has changed so much in the time that I've been in business, but I think that what we need to be really careful of is that technology doesn't overtake it. At the end of the day, real estate is personal. You know, we're dealing with people's homes that they're moving into, whether that be rental or sale. It's the same thing, just different contracts and different prices. The relationships are still there. There's certainly people that want to not be called as much or spoken to or meet, but there's always going to be, you know, a major part of the population that wants to actually put a face to the voice, a face to the emails, a face to the text. They don't just want to get an email that they clearly know is computer generated. You know, a lot of people still want that relationship building, and I think that's where our business has been successful, because the technology is definitely there to assist us.
That's right.
And sometimes I'm not sure that it does.
Yeah, you know,
It's made it so much. I remember, you know, someone would write in to say that their roof's leaking, and then we would write back to say, you know, we would write back and say, oh, we'll get the plumber, and then you know we would fax the job sheet off to the plumber.
My old man's still got a fax machine.
I weren't allowed to. When I started, I wasn't allowed to ring the trades on their mobiles, and if we did, we could have to go to the boss's office to do it. So,
right, wow.
You know, but things have become so much more instant. If we have a roof leak, if we don't get onto it today, you know, we've got the tenant ringing us, texting us, emailing us, going, what's going on? And the property's getting damaged, so the owner's not happy either. It's a lot more instant now with the technology. But I think going forward, technology is great. You know, you need to have the programs to help you. But if you rely just on those, you just won't.
I couldn't agree more. I think one of the challenges, though, Melanie, is you know, you and I are a little bit older than Kmart over here, but not much. No. Well, I am
just,
anyway.
Okay, settle down.
But so we've got
to focus on the age.
I know, he loves the age. He's all about it at the moment.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm getting closer to 50. I'm starting to get a bit apprehensive, right? But I've got a lot of younger guys and girls in our team, and there's this inherent danger that kids nowadays. I've just got onto Snapchat, right? Because my youngest son, Tom.
That's dangerous.
No, I've got 5 friends on there. My 3 kids, right? But Tom, I can
Where's
text
my
my
friend request?
Rex, please. The cleaner.
Thanks
for packing Pulp Fiction this way. No, but my point is this: the younger generation I've found at our work would prefer to email and text clients rather than pick up the phone. And I know that the world is changing, and I know those of us that are a bit older that didn't grow up with the internet need to adapt with the times. But I still think there's some core key principles and behaviours that existed 100 years ago and 200 years ago still exist today, and nothing beats a phone call.
Arguing that as well, though, Jace, the younger generation, whilst they're a lot more tech savvy, I don't know if you agree with me in this, Mel, particularly in property management, that I find frequently they lack work ethic. There's a particular age demographic in real estate, this might be controversial, they lack serious work ethic. They don't understand the importance that they're managing someone's biggest asset.
And if that's too hard, they're gone.
They're gone.
You're done.
And it's throw a couple of thousand, they'll jump jobs, they'll move businesses. Where do you think this is coming from? Do you think it's that technology's overtaken? And look, what is it about this younger generation you think that don't have the work ethic that you had when you started a business on your lounge room floor?
Look, it's so different now, I think, bringing kids up. It's hard as a parent. You guys are parents. You know that you're busy and your life is busy, and you just want to give your kids everything you didn't have. And I think every generation has done that. They've give the kids something they haven't had, and so I don't know what my kids are going to give their kids. I think I've
Mum's rent roll.
I think I've set the bar pretty high, although, you know, not according to them. And so maybe the parents, I don't know.
Who knows? I can't figure it out either.
No, Melanie, I tend to agree with you. I think who is to blame is us, parents, the way we parent. You know, when we grew up, we walked to school or we walked to the bus, we caught the bus to the train station, caught the train, and now...
If we wanted money, we had to earn it.
You had to earn it. I had first job at 13, you know, all that sort of stuff. But today's generation, and it's the parents to blame. Now, Melanie, we've been going...
We can't change that though.
No, well,
I think there's more to it than that.
Well,
because-
there's definitely a
well,
lot.
now you're going to get all philosophical, are you, Pulp Fiction
Well,
boy?
there's
Throwing it in there, the
information
number
as well.
one, the number one
Everyone gets
most
a medal.
desired job in the last 3 years. Guess what it is?
Accounting.
They have
Nah.
literally
Not property
surveyed.
management.
I think they surveyed something like it was over 1 million.
Okay, how many guesses do we get?
You get one each.
Okay.
The most sought after career in teenagers finishing high school in the last 4 years.
Male or female?
I'm
Doesn't
not
matter.
sure.
Because if it's male, I'd assume porn star, but female could be something different.
Seriously, we need to work on Rex. At the break, at the end of this episode, someone needs to counsel Rex. I need another couch, I need a peppermint tea and a joint. He needs to just calm the fuck down. I'm going to have a guess. A nurse.
No.
Damn. What,
I have my
Is it a
guess.
caring profession or is it a?
I mean, it could be caring.
hairdresser.
It's influencer.
Influencer.
Instagram influencer.
That's not care- it's not
and
caring.
I think, well, I mean, if you're an Instagram
Could be caring.
but that's what it is. It's that I think that these new jobs are coming in and people see that they can make money off just being an influencer online and taking the right photos. And this is now spread through the younger generation. So they see their friend who doesn't have to go to work every day, manage a portfolio.
Gets given lots of things to wear and
Yeah, the grass
model
is
and-
greener
yeah.
and this. Yeah, it's bizarre, but I don't know why I threw that fun fact in there.
No,
but
I love a fun
I just
fact.
had to share
No,
it.
you know what
Yeah.
it was? It was a good segue into our resident influencer.
Oh.
Let's go, influencer boy.
Guys, hey guys, I just want to add to this whole sort of why there's so much churn in property management. What our stats tell us is actually when we interview staff, it's a lot about them not having a career path. And when you get more experience in property management, it seems that you're loaded with more work rather than actually scaling up in the industry. So I think that's something that, you know, as an industry, we should actually take into account, is that people need a career path and they need to know where they're going to end up in their career, not just actually get more work because you're actually more experienced.
Yeah, I think the companies that are offering versatility, you know, you can start here as a property manager or start here as a receptionist even. I started as a receptionist. Best place to start because you get to learn absolutely everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you become a little bit indispensable because you can do absolutely
Yeah.
everything, but then you have to do absolutely everything, as I find out as a business owner. But you then offer them other paths. So you don't just start as a receptionist, you then end up as an assistant. It could be an assistant to the sales, it could be an assistant to property manager. I don't like this property manager gig, I'm going to go into sales, or they've got a marketing team, I'm going to go into marketing, or I've got a renovation team, I want to go into doing, you know, decoration.
I like
or,
this
you know, those sort of
renovation
thing.
team.
It's
I'm
nice
really
to have this diversity.
Really excited by this.
I can
because
see you with a tool belt on, to be honest.
yeah. Chev's actually about to film another a trailer for our second company called Wolf, and we are actually wearing high-vis vests and tool belts.
Yeah.
So you're on the right
I
track
have
there.
a pink hard hat and a high vis in my boot, just in
Oh,
case.
my
So.
You have no idea the wardrobe and the outfits Rex has got in the front room. Hey, listen, Chev's talking to me in the mysterious earpiece here, saying, Jason, we need to wrap up. And before we do, Melanie, I just firstly want to say thank you. You're outstanding.
Oh, it's
And
been a lot of fun.
You've been so generous with what you've given us. But before we go, we've got this little thing called Pete's cheat sheet, and some people would say it's nothing short of life-changing advice. Over to you, big boy.
Uh-oh.
Thanks heaps, Jace. So for this episode, we've actually done an infographic up for you that can be downloaded off realestaterenovators.com.au. It's an infographic that details the 4 attributes that will increase the asset value of your rent roll. We really hope you find this helpful. Over to you, Jace.
Man, that is awesome!
Great.
Well done, Petey.
Well done.
All right, well, that's another episode, nice and wrapped up. Chanel's going to go on to her 15th mimosa or samosa. I've got to get this right too. What is it? What is it called, Doug?
It's a fucking mimosa.
Hang on, let me get this right. It's from the words of coma. It's a fucking mimosa. I thought it was a samosa. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show and see you next time.